Hi everyone! Today we are going to focus on hunger versus appetite. This is an important topic right now and kind of goes along with the video from last week about choosing foods for metabolism boosting and healthy snacking. I think a lot of us are gravitating towards foods that are maybe more of our comfort foods. Maybe we're navigating ourselves towards the junk drawer a little bit more often, or sneaking some foods out of our kids' snacks. And so I think the first step in all of this is really identifying, am I hungry or do I just have an appetite for something? I think in an everyday world, most of us tend to choose foods for really any other reason other than what is a nutritional component that I'm going to get out of this X food item that I'm choosing. You know, we choose to eat foods because we are bored, because we're sad, because we're stressed out. Maybe we navigate towards certain different food items because they're convenient or they're just available. Maybe it just happens to be at your friend's desk, or maybe my kid just happens to be nibbling on it and I might have a little bit of it. So we really tend to choose foods and eat them for pretty much any other reason besides being truly hungry or for the nutritional benefit of them. So that's why we want to identify the difference between hunger and appetite. This is the crossroads we get to, and it's important to identify the difference so that then it can help you to understand why you choose the foods you choose, and can help you be a little bit more balanced and mindful of the items that you choose to include in your diet on a regular basis. So at the very basic level, hunger versus appetite, think of hunger really as your body's need for food. It's a physical need. Your body needs fuel. It needs calories. It needs energy to sustain, right? It's self-preservation that your body gets these hunger cues. We get hunger cues. We can feel tired when we're hungry. We can get a headache. We can feel fatigued. We can be irritable, right? Which, how many of us have been on a low-calorie diet and have been absolutely hangry, right? That's where that term comes from, hungry and angry, hangry, right? So our body gives us physical cues. If you wait way too long to eat and you get lightheaded, you can pass out from not having enough calories or energy. So hunger is your body's physical need for food. Appetite, on the other hand, is truly like the desire to eat. I want to eat something. It's when you smell bread baking and you just think that's so delicious, or you're driving by a McDonald's or a fast food place and you've heard, probably like I have, that they infuse the smell of the French fries in the air as you drive by, and then automatically your mouth starts to water and you want that food. We associate so many different emotions with foods, and I think that just because appetite plays such a large role, we tend to want them as soon as we get an appetite for it. You can wake up feeling in the mood to eat something. If you're in the mood to eat something, it's really appetite, not necessarily hunger. So that's really the main step, is identifying when you're going to go eat something in the kitchen. You know, why am I eating this? Am I eating it because I'm hungry, or am I eating it because I have an appetite for it? Once you identify that, now our next phase is, okay, so if I can identify that I'm really just having an appetite for something, then how can I navigate this? How can I control my appetite? Because truly, you can learn to control your appetite, but you can't really control hunger past a certain degree. So number one is really being mindful of what you're choosing and when you're choosing. I think it plays a large role. In that mindfulness, our goal is to feel satiated, which means to feel full and satisfied after we eat. We want to make sure that we're being mindful of our timing, which I talked about in the last video with our metabolism, and also to make sure that you're thinking about different food combinations. And the reason why is because we want to feel good after we eat. So when you wake up in the morning, you want to get a timing going. If you're not in a rhythm right now, get yourself in one. That's important for you to be able to identify between that hunger and that appetite. Because if you're eating and you're finding yourself in the kitchen, you know, every half an hour, every hour, and you're kind of grazing and picking, you know, what can happen is that your body loses all of its natural rhythm. And our body likes to be in a rhythm. It likes to work like a machine, and quite frankly, works best in that way. So you need need to kind of impose that on yourself. It takes about 7 to 10 days in a normal basis to get your body into that rhythm by self-imposing it. So if right now you're eating very erratically, which I think a lot of us are because we're not in our normal schedules. I mean, I think most of us are waking up and going like, what day is it today? What time is it that I'm eating dinner? And so I think give yourself some structure. It doesn't have to be traditional structure by any means. It does not have to be, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, but give yourself some type of structure of timing so that you know that you should be able to stay full and satisfied to that 3 to 4 hour marker. So by giving yourself the timing, that next piece on that piece of the puzzle is food combinations and making sure that you're feeling satisfied from those food combinations with portion control. And what I mean by food combinations is what I talked about previously is that protein. When I create a meal for me or for my family, or if I'm picking a snack that's balanced, the first component that I'm picking is the protein-rich food, because that's going to really keep you fuller. It's going to keep you satiated for longer. So pick that first and build around it. So if I'm making dinner, I'm going to think about what lean protein am I choosing? Am I choosing eggs? Am I choosing chicken? Am I choosing edamame, tofu, beans, whatever protein you're choosing, pick that first. And then pick your sides of your veggie and your grain. When you're choosing a snack, that is important too. And I think this is the missing piece of the puzzle that most people forget. When you're choosing a snack, you need a protein. If you're just grabbing an apple, that's great. I'm glad you're getting in one of your fruit servings, but that's not going to keep you satiated for 3 hours. The food combination is important. You need a little bit of protein along with that fiber and that, with that fruit or vegetable. So please keep that in mind for when you are choosing. When we keep all of these main components of feeling satisfied and being mindful of food combination, feeling satiated, and your timing, you also need to make sure that are you really sticking to it? It's hard to remember what you ate in a day. I can't tell you how many clients I've counseled over the last 15 years, and you can't remember what you ate in the morning, let alone an hour ago a lot of the time. So being mindful, I think, really is important to keep a food journal. Whether you keep it on paper, whether you have a nice little binded notebook that you like to keep. I just grabbed one of the kids' old notebooks that had extra paper in it. If you like to keep a food log in your phone, like my FitnessPal app or something like that, anything that's going to work for you is what I would recommend choosing. But for this, to really hone in on this topic of hunger versus appetite, keeping the food journal itself is not necessarily the key piece of it. It's the other half of it. So what I recommend doing is putting a line down your sheet, and on one half of your journal, you're going to write, what am I choosing? How much? This is key, quantity. And estimate. You don't have to be perfect, but estimate how much. When, why, what beverage did I choose? These are all things you want to write down on the one side of the column that you would normally include for a food journal. And on the other side, I'd write a line down the half. And on the other side, I'm going to write, okay, what was my mood there? Why did I choose this food? Was it just there? Was I grazing and I just happened to grab a Hershey's Kiss because I walked by and saw it? Was it just that it was available? Was it that it's convenient? I didn't feel like really cooking, so I threw a TV dinner in. What is the reason behind what you're choosing? And you can also write symptoms. Did I have a headache at this point? Was I feeling like my blood sugar was dropping? Was I nauseous? All these things really help to curb what we're choosing or push us towards a different food item. So I think this is key for really understanding for your own self the difference between hunger and appetite. And truly, if you're seeing a dietitian, whether you're seeing them virtually or if you're seeing someone after all this with food journals, this is a really key piece for us to be able to help you. So that is important. Another key piece is hydration. I've mentioned this before. Our body can mix up the messages between thirst and hunger. So if you feel thirsty, by chances are that you're already partially dehydrated. And if you're dehydrated, you could be snacking and eating things trying to fill that kind of void where you really don't need any calories or food. It's just that your body needs hydration. So if you tend to be finding yourself getting hungry before that 3 to 4 hour marker and you had a sufficient snack or meal with enough protein in it and you shouldn't be getting hungry next, too soon, really that's fluid. So make sure you're drinking enough water. When we're at home, I think we tend to not drink as much as maybe when we are at work or out. So make sure that you're logging your water intake and that you're being mindful of how much that you're taking in. Next, I just want to recommend being mindful of how you're eating. I think if you're not really aware of what you're eating, that can be a big piece of the puzzle for eating for appetite over hunger also. So if you are someone who eats in front of the TV or the computer, or you read while you're eating, try to take all of that outside noise away. Try to focus on what you're choosing, focus on what you're eating, and let it be an experience. I think, as silly as that sounds, we feel more satisfied when we enjoy the food that we're eating. Remember, it takes like 15 to 20 minutes to start to feel satisfied and full. So choose slowly, savor the food that you're eating. Make sure that you're choosing foods that you really want to actually be eating. That's important too. We eat with our eyes first. So if you've got a plate of just, white potatoes and, tan chicken and a slice of white bread, it's kind of boring. You want to add some color, add a pop there, whether it's a side salad, which is like romaine lettuce in it, whether it's having some frozen broccoli or having an apple, whatever it is for you, but try to bump up the colors because we eat with our eyes first and you want to enjoy it. And be mindful of your serving utensils and your serving bowls. Make sure it's the right portions for you. I know for me, if I have a large plate, I might have the correct portions on that plate, but the plate might look empty. And to me, I'd rather have a smaller plate that looks more full, kind of plays a trick on my brain, like, oh wow, I'm getting a lot more food, right? Because it looks like a lot more on that smaller plate. I'd rather have that smaller 9-inch plate than the big large plates. I have both in my house because my husband is a lot bigger and needs a lot more food, and so do my 2 boys who are growing and really eating me out of house and home right now. So I give them the larger plates that they need, and I use a smaller plate for myself. But I have to say that when I eat off of a smaller plate that's full, I feel much more satisfied than if I eat off of a larger plate that's half full. So little things like that can really help to kind of help you identify, am I feeling full? Am I feeling satiated? Am I really hungry if I'm getting that second helping? Or is it really that it's just there and I'm having an appetite for it? So this helps you to start to identify this. And the last thing I wanted to really hone in on is specifically what kinds of foods that you're choosing. I will tell you that because we are choosing more snacks that are comfort foods and snacks like sweets and baked goods and salty and junk foods, I know that there's a lot more of that in my house right now than I normally ever have. But it's just because, we're all here, we're all home, and everyone is really craving it. So what I do want to tell you is I feel that there is no bad food. I really do feel like all foods can fit into our lives, but it really comes down to quantity and it comes down to frequency and how does it fit into your day. You have to be mindful of what you're choosing, right? So if I'm gonna have some ice cream is not a bad food, but eating half of the container is, maybe not so great. So you wanna portion it, you wanna be mindful of it, and you wanna have it at that snack time in the day and pair it with something healthy, pair it with some fruit or pair it with some nuts so that you feel a little bit more satisfied and full. But be mindful of those added sugars and those snacks, because what can happen is you have those simple sugars and you have those sweets and it can create a vicious cycle, because the more that you have it, the more that your body craves it. And in that instance, you can find yourself back into the kitchen within an hour of having had that high calorie, high sugar snack, because it doesn't keep you full for long. And then you're kind of just going on this vicious rotation of needing more and more and more. And then by the end of the day, you're up 1,000 calories. You have no idea why after 3 days you've gained a pound. And, over being home for 4 weeks, all of a sudden you don't fit into your jeans. And so these little pieces of the puzzle are what's going to help you identify for yourself hunger versus appetite, making good food choices, being mindful, and having balance. So all these things in mind, keep the food journal in mind if you need a little bit more help or structure in your day. I recommend going back and looking at the healthy snack and metabolism boosting video if you haven't seen it yet, and also the stress and mood boosting foods videos that I made, because really what we are choosing affects how we feel, and how we feel affects what foods that we are choosing. So all of this is really full circle. So I recommend kind of going back, perusing all of the videos when you have time. Hopefully they all give you a little bit of tips here and there. There are handouts associated with each of these videos, so please check them out in the description box of the video itself. And that's all I've got for you today. So you guys stay safe, stay healthy, have a wonderful day, and I will see you all soon. Bye.